In the year 330 to BC, the world witnessed a collision between human ambition and the laws of nature that would forever redefine the meaning of impossible as King Alexander of Macedon stood upon the sun-drenched shores of the Levant and stared across half a mile of churning turquoise Mediterranean water at the island fortress of Tyre, a city-state so arrogant in its security that its leaders laughed from the ramparts at the greatest conqueror the world had ever known. Tyre was not merely a city, it was a maritime titan protected by walls that rose 150 feet directly from the depths of the sea. Its harbors filled with the most sophisticated navy of the era, and its stores packed with enough grain and fresh water to withstand a siege for years, leading every military strategist of the time to conclude that unless a man could walk on water or fly like a bird, Tyre would remain the one unconquerable crown that Alexander could never wear. However, Alexander did not possess the vocabulary of the defeated, and where his generals saw lethal watery abyss, he saw construction site, leading him to command his army to do the unthinkable. If the city would not come to the mainland, the mainland would be dragged to the city. The project was the construction of a mole, a massive stone causeway, or bridge built through the deep sea, and it began with thousands of soldiers and local laborers hauling millions of tons of stone from the ruins of old Tyre and timber from the majestic cedars of Lebanon, an agonizingly slow process where every inch gained was a battle against the currents and the psychological weight of a task that seemed to defy the gods themselves. As the causeway crept closer to the island, the Tyrians realized this was no ordinary threat and launched a devastating counter-offensive, sending fire ships packed with bitumen, sulfur, and oil to crash into Alexander's wooden siege towers, turning months of back-breaking labor into a towering inferno of ash and scorched bone that sank into the dark depths of the Mediterranean. Many men would have taken this as a sign from the heavens to retreat, but Alexander understood the first law of greatness: that failure is not a wall, but a filter, a mechanism designed to weed out the half-hearted from the lions. And so he did not weep over the ashes, but instead ordered the causeway to be built wider, more resilient, and protected by a newly assembled fleet of 200 ships. Gathered from every corner of the coast for 7 months, this struggle was a symphony of sweat, blood, and the relentless pounding of hammers against the resistance of the sea, with Alexander himself often seen carrying stones alongside his men to prove that a leader's vision must always be matched by his willingness to suffer in the trenches. The Tyrians eventually watched in mounting horror as the island they thought was their sanctuary slowly became a peninsula, the gap between their high walls and the unstoppable Macedonian machine narrowing until the sea itself was conquered. And when the final breach was made and the iron-shod boots of Alexander's infantry finally hit the pavement of the city, the world learned a lesson that echoes through the centuries: that the obstacles in your life are only as impregnable as your willingness to accept them. As such, most people spend their entire lives waiting for a bridge to appear over their problems, waiting for the right opportunity or the perfect timing to cross the gap between who they are and who they want to be. But history does not remember those who waited for the tide to turn. It remembers the engineers of fate who carried the stones, who faced the fire ships of failure and who refused. To let a little bit of water stand between them and their destiny, your Tyre might be a business that won't start a habit that won't break, or a dream that feels half a mile out of reach across a cold ocean of doubt. But the lesson of the mole is that you must become the architect of your own path, understanding that if there is no way forward, you are obligated to build one with your own hands, brick by painful brick, until the impossible becomes the inevitable. The difference between a conqueror and a commoner is not the absence of obstacles, but the presence of an unbreakable resolve that views every no from the world as a prompt to build a bigger bridge. And as you stand on your own shoreline today, looking at the gaps in your life, remember that the sea yields to the man who treats it like solid ground, and that the only true walls are the ones you build inside your own mind. For when the spirit is committed, even the oceans must make way for the march of progress. If this story of ancient grit and modern application has ignited a spark within your soul to stop waiting and start building, then join our circle of warriors by hitting the subscribe button right now for more high-octane historical wisdom and life-altering strategies designed to help you conquer your own empires. Don't just exist in history, build it.